only 6% of Bitcoin supply is left to be uncovered. In this video, we're going to talk about Bitcoin supply. We're going to talk about Mt. Gox and what's going on with their payments. I also want to talk about a tightening pattern on Bitcoin. We are looking at a big move soon, in my opinion. And I also want to talk about Bitcoin and how the future cycles could play out, the potential price of Bitcoin. Right now, as many of you know, there is 450 Bitcoin being issued per day. We just got through the halving. Before this, we were getting 900 Bitcoin per day. In the next halving, we'll be getting somewhere around 225 Bitcoin per day. I was going to do this later in the video, but we'll keep this Bitcoin issuance theme going. It only takes about $27 million with a Bitcoin at 60,000 to eat up the 450 Bitcoin issued per day. And as long as there is some demand, as long as demand doesn't just fall off a cliff, this statement holds true. This is why Bitcoin will always go up over time. Incoming supply shrinks, the price must accommodate by going up. Right now we get 450 per day, 450 Bitcoin per day. Next halving, 225 Bitcoin, then 112, then 60s, 30s, 15s, and single digits. We will get to the single digits in the 2040s. That really isn't that far away. You'll see here that I have 15, which is the 15 Bitcoin per day. And if we have Bitcoin at a $1.8 million price, that would be roughly the same amount of money needed in terms of where we are here. That $27 million worth of Bitcoin being issued per day. We would only need $27 million to eat up the daily supply of Bitcoin if Bitcoin was 1.8 million and there was only 15 Bitcoin issued per day. This is why the halving holds so much weight on Bitcoin. This is why the halving is so important. It's all about supply and demand. As long as demand doesn't fall off a cliff, like I said, the price of Bitcoin will always go up cycle after cycle. We're not that far away from getting to a 15 Bitcoin issued per day, getting into the single digits, getting to like 7 Bitcoin issued per day. What price will Bitcoin be when there's only 7 Bitcoin being produced per day? It's definitely not going to be 60,000, I can tell you that much right now. The price of Bitcoin will accommodate the decreasing supply of Bitcoin. Now, I do want to show you guys an interesting pattern. Bitcoin's been kind of tightening up. You'll look at our two extremes, our lows here at 53 and our highs here at 68, and we are just kind of in this range. We are tightening up, and soon we are going to have a huge breakout. If we break out to the upside, our next test will be the moving averages, the 50 and the 200. We found resistance on them last time, and it brought us down a bit. If we do break out higher, that's our next attempt, the moving averages. After the moving averages, we'd be heading for our descending resistance here at the 68,000 area. I do think it's a matter of time, a short amount of time, and we will see Bitcoin break out. Every halving cycle, the halving year, you typically see an end of year run, and I do expect that here. We're almost done with the Mt. Gox payments, and we'll get into that right now. We had a nice cool down here. You know, Bitcoin doesn't just go straight up. We do need cool downs. We need pullbacks to establish our next leg up. And I think that's what we did here. And overall in the rest of the cycle, we will see spot Bitcoin ETF inflows. That is what we have seen up to this point. And I do expect that to continue until we hit our next bear market, probably starting in 2026 sometime. And like I said, guys, 94% of Bitcoin's total supply that there ever will be is already out in the market. We are fighting for the last 6% of Bitcoin over the next roughly 100 or so years. Bitcoin's price is going up over time. I don't know how I could make it any more obvious. There is only about 1.26 million Bitcoin left. The remaining supply will take over 100 years to fully mint. 99.9% of all Bitcoin will be mined by the year 2140. We will all be long gone by then, so this isn't even an issue for us to worry about. It's an issue probably for our kids' to worry about. And at that point, who knows where transaction fees could be. There are definitely going to be a lot of moving parts. And this sums it up pretty well. The controlled supply schedule is a key aspect of Bitcoin's value proposition. As the issuance slows and demand grows, or stays constant, I would argue, Bitcoin is designed to become scarcer over time, which is an attractive attribute for investors facing unlimited fiat money printing and currency debasement. Bitcoin is the answer against that. And I will leave this article down below for you. I wanted to focus on the Mt. Gox portion. BitGo, which was one of the 5 exchanges selected to distribute the Mt. Gox repayments, they moved $2 billion in Bitcoin on August 13th. And it was roughly $2 billion of Bitcoin left that needs to be paid out to creditors. And we have the past to indicate the future. Bitstamp and Kraken both carried out similar on-chain movements before their distributions. So BitGo is likely the last exchange to distribute repayments to creditors. This is great news, and as I said before, I think Bitcoin has already bottomed out and will bottom out before news comes out that Mt. Gox creditors have been paid out. The market is forwards looking, and the market knows that Mt. Gox creditors are getting everything back. The majority have already been paid out. But anyways, getting over to the Bitcoin miners, you'll see a pretty mixed day. We got a little bit of red, a little bit of green. Well, I wanted to go over Wolf again today. It has been recovering nicely. It is having a huge rally day, one of the best performing miners, if not the best performing miner today. And I want to show you that it is approaching its 50 MA. We might find resistance, pull back before our next attempt to break out. We do have a gap up here at the $5 area, the psychological 5, and we do have somewhat of a support to follow. We have bounced off this a few times. I do suspect if we find resistance on the 50 MA, we are going to test this ascending support. If we break this, we might head lower and test the 3s. Otherwise, we're going to use it as a bouncing off point, and then we will successfully break the 50 MA and go on to fill our gap here in the 5s. Wolf stock had a beautiful breakout that I totally missed. Wolf has gone in and filled its gap down here in the 3s. I do think if Bitcoin breaks out, Wolf won't see these lower prices ever again. But to me, that goes for all the miners. When Bitcoin goes on its next break of new all-time highs, these miners aren't going to look back. They've been suppressed because of the halving. They've just got their rewards cut in half, and they've been essentially dragged through the dirt. Many of these miners are 50% and lower from their 52-week highs. And what the market's really watching for is, can they post profitability after the halving? Now that we got through the halving, can these miners start giving some forward guidance of profitability? Can we get back to that revenue growth and that positive EPS? In the end, these Bitcoin miners are mining one of the most valuable assets known to man, one of the most scarce assets known to man. And these Bitcoin miners hopefully will hodl because this is the best thing that they can do at this time in the cycle, in my opinion. But let me know what you think about Wolf stock. What other Bitcoin miners are you guys watching? I do think now is the time to take advantage. And when things go on to rally, when things go to these crazy prices, that will be the time to sell. When everyone else is piling in, that is the time that we should be starting to take some profits. In 2025, when things are going parabolic, we shouldn't be piling in at that point. We should be exiting. But let me know your strategy down below. How are you going to play this cycle? Thanks as always, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.